Yeah, I've been trying to do this new thing now where I just don't even announce it. I just hit record and then we just talk. And then we could always add the intro at the end if we have to. I just feel like it makes the conversation, like, I just feel like when you clap and you're like,
it makes
which I do gotta do the clap part. People get like nervous and shit, you know what I mean? Like sometimes when you let them know, like, we'll be having a cool conversation, like the one we had with Cody, bro, in the beginning. Yeah. We'll have a cool ass conversation. I'll be like, all right, you ready? And then I'll clap and I'll be like, all right. And we'll give homie his intro. And then it gets all quiet for a second and we gotta rebuild that momentum, you know? But anyways, dude, since I brought attention to it, I guess we'll do it. You want to give him the intro? Or?
Yeah, welcome to the episode, California Sober. We are with my OG, your artist's favorite artist, the man, the myth, the legend, SwissPrecise. Hello.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. Or thanks for visiting.
Thank you for letting us come. I love this place.
Oh, yeah. Damn, already.
Damn.
Yeah, so like Trey said, dude, welcome back to the show. Today we're here with SwissPrecise, dude. He's an artist. He does a bunch of cool street art. He has a clothing brand, KBH, I believe. Is that the brand name?
I mean, it's Knights, but yeah, but the abbreviation is still KBH. It's one of
KBH. Check it out. We'll add a link. He's welcomed us to his place of artistic release, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Over at Hangar 18 in the Long Beach Airport.
Hangar 10. Hangar 18, I believe, is
Hangar 18 Studios.
Hangar 18 is the beer or something like that, right?
No, there's that Netflix where they did a bunch of crazy like one-off. Like the Death, Love, and Robots.
Yeah.
Death and Robots.
Yeah.
They did little one-offs, but they were like gnarly as F.
Yeah, we just do art here. Hangar 10, we do art here.
Hangar 10 up in Long Beach Airport. This is the first time I've ever been into a private hangar. It's pretty sick, dude. I'm surprised they just let you in like that.
Yeah.
But they kind of don't.
I've been blessed. This is where we screen print, do printing, designing, and art.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys could get some of the shots in the camera. Maybe I'll do some shots after the interview's over, but it's just like this whole ceiling to floor, bro. It's just full of cool art pieces. Dude, I know, like, I was going through some of your work, and I noticed you use a lot of blues, dude. I was wondering, is blue like your favorite color or something?
I think so. I mean, so I'm colorblind.
Oh,
so I have a feeling that it stimulates my eyes. You know, that's why I also use a lot of bright colors. Everybody's like, man, you always use those bright colors, and I'm like, it's probably because I'm colorblind.
Yeah,
you know
so you're completely...
I can see colors, you know, like the primary colors. It's just, I don't know if you remember when you do the colorblind thing where it'd be a bunch of dots.
I never understood it, yeah.
And you'd have to find the number or the image that was, I never passed those things. When you put the oranges, yellows, and the greens and all that together, it almost all looks like yellow or whatever, orange or...
So why do you use streetlights then?
It took me a long time to figure out, you know what I mean? Like as a kid.
Yeah. But it's always like the bottom is stopped.
Yeah, you eventually figure it out. There's just things you figure out, right? Like, but I just never ever passed those, like, and that was all at grade school, you know?
I always wondered what was supposed to happen. Like they never told us when we were younger, like what's supposed to happen.
Bro, so you're an artist that can't see color, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's why you got the labels.
Like
you got the labels, yeah. You're like, oh.
Dude, but I feel like you'll see that every once in a while. Like you'll see someone that has like some type of disability, and it's almost like they feel like they're destined to pursue like a life that is hindered by disability. You know what I mean?
For real. I didn't really realize why I was using brights though for a long. It wasn't until somebody's like, "You're always using bright colors or this or that," and you know, little things like that. I'm like, well, maybe that's what stimulates my eyes because of certain colors, but.
Like bright colors died off with graph in like the 90s, like the mid 90s. Everybody went dark.
But even clothes and fashion, I usually rock like the pastels. Like I've never been afraid to rock pink and sky blue and I've always pastel yellows pants or whatever. Yeah, I can get them off. You know, like the homies would be like, damn, like yep. I'll roll wherever.
Mid-July.
Yeah. I wonder if like the reason your art looks so unique and I guess beautiful in its own way is because you're colorblind. It's like your perspective is different, and it's like humans are kind of drawn to things that are like different, stand out. You know?
Yeah. Totally.
Anyway, so what got you into art, man? I mean, it seems like it's a big part of your life.
My father was a fine artist, right? Like he went to school painting portraits and whatever. I mean, that's not what he did as a career, but school-wise. So young age, I was drawn, doing whatever you're into as a kid. In my days, it was, Japanimation, and like my mom was always buying me Japanese toys, so it was just like the cartoon,
Voltron.
all that stuff. So way back in those days, you're mimicking that stuff, you're drawing what you see, and then I got into breakdancing at a very young age, and that just segued into graffiti, because in my days you were writing your graffiti name. That's what the tagging started, and you're piecing in the books, and this is I was probably like second grade, seven years old. Started tagging my little hip hop name. It was like Icy Freeze or Icicle or something to do with breakdancing. And then you stop breakdancing and you're enjoying more of the graffiti. So you got to come up with a smaller, shorter name, and then that was it for me. It was graffiti from there.
Would you say it started originally on the East Coast, like the whole East Coast, West Coast thing?
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like a very East Coast vibe,
Yeah, well, breaking and popping that's basically where like I said, it segued for me into graffiti, which we were eyeing a lot of New York graffiti. I mean,
because like Style Wars and.
So you had Style Wars, Wild Style, but there was books at the Long Beach Library that you could get that had already like the culture of New York, and the culture in New York was all that gang culture, New York gang culture, which was different from here. It was like denim jackets and almost
big old oversized.
It was like punk rock meets hip hop. It was weird. It was different from what we were used to seeing. Like dudes, you remember like Africa Bambaata's wearing like denim and spikes and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's what they look more like bikers, the gangsters back in the 70s and 80s in New York. But there was these books, and you would go through the books, but then you started to notice this graffiti stuff, and you're like, what is that?
That'd be so weird.
Yeah, and they had like and these are just books that I remember. I just remember like they had a whole style of Phase 2's, like throughout the years from the 70s to the 80s of how he had grew his wild style from like bubble letters all the way to like unreadable stuff, right? And then Style Wars and Wild Style came out, and that was like bam. And I remember you would go to the Long Beach Library. This was in the early 80s, like 84 maybe. You could still check out that stuff. But then the books weren't coming back. The books weren't coming back. And then eventually, you had Subway art, spray can art, all that stuff though. You could check all of it out when it was in the beginning. But then eventually people weren't bringing none of that stuff back. So then it was like you couldn't leave with those books. Those stayed in this little section or whatever. And
I'm pretty sure eventually too the government was like, we got to remove these off the shelf, bro. These are inspiring kids to do some gang shit.
Well, dude, it's just like that, dude. That's like a freaking holy grail type activity.
Yeah, it was. I mean, back then you got to remember, like there wasn't anything like that here. For us, we had buses. That was the closest to. There was no trains, So the first thing you were writing on buses, so you could write your name on buses. If you're going to paint or piece, most of the kids in Long Beach anyways, I can't speak for LA, but everything was the flood controls, all the overpass. So that was a good place where you could do like a production. Nobody was going to bug you. Bicyclers would drive by, they'd ride by. And it was so new. Graffiti was so new that they didn't know it was illegal anyways. There were so many people that would be painting, and you just kind of, whoa. So I got to hang out with like a lot of my older homies before I even knew they were going to be my older homies. This is just me being into graffiti. I'd walk on the flood control and see some dude painting, and we just post up and watch this dude. And one of them ended up being like one of my homies, my boy Sinless, who did the skeleton up there.
Yeah. We'll get a picture of that.
Yeah, he was at that time he was writing like Ajax, and this is like I said in the early '80s, and then he became Skez, and he started Homeland. Him and Dixie started Homeland, which was the place where
that was like a legal wall spot, right?
It was a culture center for breaking and just for kids from the hood to stay off the streets. So you could go there to break dance, DJ, learn graffiti or graffiti art. It didn't even have to be graffiti. It was just a place where you could come and kids would, and he'd be the guy just drawing and showing you how to draw characters or hands or whatever. And
or your community.
Yeah.
For
and
kids to not do bad.
See, there
kids
you go.
to do bad things. Damn it. Darn it. I gotta get that.
Doing better than us, by the way.
Yeah, you're Don't even cuss, bro. Like, is this just you normal, or are you just on right now?
Yeah, maybe I'm on.
It's pretty. I mean, it seems pretty normal.
It is good for this stuff, bro. This is your type of stiz, bro. So do you feel like because I don't see stuff like that anymore. Like they don't even want kids to gather anymore.
Like culture centers.
Yeah.
I'm kind of out of the loop. I was in the loop for a minute with Homeland, and then I think it pretty much lasted up until a few years ago because it eventually became. I know they were having like drum circles. It was like a lot of different little subgenres or subcultures meeting at the park or this culture center to do. They were doing plays, they were writing poetry, whatever they had, just to get the kids off the street, which was a good thing. I mean, they need a lot more of that, to tell you the truth.
I see stuff on the beach still sometimes where it's like kind of music oriented, but nothing like something where it's like street art or like, I feel like it's something that is kind of missing in a lot of like cities and stuff. Like I feel like everyone kind of grows up in their town, in their own little bubble now. Like there's not really any community type thing unless you get into like sports or whatever,
Well, that's the thing. They labeled it street art, so it kind of makes it a little cool. When I was doing it, it was graffiti, so it wasn't looked at as cool. Like I painted some murals on 2nd Street, just in these little areas that you didn't normally get to paint, right? Because let's say I knew a store owner, was able to paint on a store in the Long Beach Business Bureau or Belmont. I don't know what it was. There's a couple places where they'd come in and be like, "Well, that was done with spray paint."
Can do a spray paint?
And then the owner would be like, "Ken, can you come over here and buff this?" I'm like, "No, I'm not buffing anything." But yeah, that happened a couple times.
Just because
it was done. It was done with, because it had this attachment to graffiti. Now it's cool. You do it. I mean, everybody is learning how to use a can now, right?
They have like those school. Remember you sent me that thing about they're doing the virtual graffiti.
Yeah,
they're teaching classes with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes with the caps too. Like I was telling you how we cut the bottom of the cap to get the right amount of airflow in it to make the can fat, right?
Like they're just making it,
and you knew what kind of tips to grab. Back in our days, it was the tester can that had the fine line. So you would go to all the model shops, all the wherever, Gemco, Kmart that sold tester cans, and you would take tips off of those, and that's what you would put on the Krylon to get the nice lines.
Yeah, like window cleaner.
Window cleaner was the fat cap. That was the New York Fats. And this is how you got your caps. There was nobody selling caps, and then eventually, I mean, this is later, but I remember Frame or Nacho, whatever you want to call him, Frame or Nacho. He would be at the Belmont Tunnel selling bags of caps. He would come with like trash bags.
Business-minded, dude.
Yeah.
Was this after they started pressing him, or he was like the first one? He
was connected. He just was connected. He's still.
Who makes the caps? Do you know the brands?
Oh, I'm pretty sure the same companies that are now. I mean, now it's got to be Montana and Belton. And they just capitalize.
Yeah, they
just capitalize. Exactly. Like, on the side, we can sell these because you run through them.
They don't care,
you
bro.
run through them. So
absolutely.
But
and the cops aren't going after them.
They're not. Well, they're not going. But this is a different deal. As today, from my point of view, they don't really fuck with graffiti artists anymore. Like for me, it was like if I was walking on the street, it was like I don't know, like the cops out there right now. They would have pulled us over just for the way we looked. Yeah. They'd have pulled over, shook you down, made sure you didn't have anything in your pockets or whatever, and then you could be on your way. That's how it was for me. Like it was automatic. Like boom, you look like you're lost. I might look like I lost. I live here. Get over here. Next thing you know, they're running your name. They don't do that shit.
That was in like the 90s, or
that was exactly that was the norm. And then if you were other writers or other people on the street were running up on you like you right, and it was very alpha, to have somebody run up on you and be like you right, almost like do you bang, and it's like yeah right, and then you exchange where you're from, and you better hope you guys didn't have beef like. The crew you were from, you're like, oh shit, it might be on and popping right now.
Yeah. Did you still have to worry about like the 20s and shit? Like was it still that era?
So it's funny. I mean, there would be times where you'd get some, whether it was Longo or 20s, Insane, whoever that would see you painting, and most of the time it would be like, can you hit my homie up? Can you hit a rest in peace or whatever? And it would be cool like that. Very seldom. I mean, there was a couple times I had some gangsters run up on me and take my paint. You know, it was nothing. We weren't going to do nothing. It was like, yo, we want the ultra flat black you got there. You know, or we want. It was mainly the black. They'd always want the black because they want to go strike up. You know, and like, here, you don't want the cool colors. No, we want the black.
The most important color. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, or you get some weirdos that wanted to paint the huff. You know,
yo, silvers. They wanted silvers.
And face be all.
How many did you guys get in? Did you personally get into any squabbles for writing?
Oh, yeah. I brought a lot of problems to my house. Yeah, it was. I was in the era of the tag banging, so like
you're about that life.
It was. I was about the graffiti. Like I love graffiti art to the. You know what I mean? But let's say we're in a crew, and somebody's not getting along with you guys. I'm in the crew. Let's say I love graffiti art, but that's just what it is. So I was part of these crews that were really big on at that time. Was they were shooting each other up left and right, going to Compton, awesome. Shooting it up. And it was back and forth, and eventually it got to where it was like, you know, the higher ups, or they call them the legends, just basically said there ain't gonna be no more drive-bys no more. And if you guys do a drive-bys and you guys are shooting each other, when you get inside, there's a green light on you. So the tag bangers slowly started to get into the gangs. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be shooting up people for fucking nothing, you must be shooting up people for your neighborhood. Right. So all my homies started to get into the gangs. I was like, well, I'm going to start another crew, you know? So I started a crew called DE with a couple of my homies. And I'd still hang out with those dudes, you know? And it was kind of like a
shift.
It was a shift, but my homies, you know, like let's say you're still banging, but you used to break dance and write graffiti with me. So I was still like really, really attached to a lot of those guys, and they were attached to me, and they looked out for me too. Though it was like you get the youngsters like, yo, let's jump index in the set, and they'd be like, nah, he does art. You know, so I was always lucky, right? And that was kind of like their way of living through me, like, yo, remember we used to do this or that, you know? And you'd be like, yeah, you know,
you're still doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it was. It's like they love to get the little stories off, you know. Remember back in the days when we were battling, blah blah blah. You know, you're like, yeah, you were busting, and they'd be like, yeah, you know. And eventually, you know, again, as you get older, you start to lose some of those homies to the ways of the streets. But I started to throw clubs, like parties and shit, and we would have, you know, because again, people that were into hip hop, you eventually started DJing, you started rapping. So then I would put these shows together, and these guys would, and it would be Longo, it would be 20s, it'd be insane. It would be, I mean, and there would be some Asians too. And there'd be a couple times where the police department would be like telling the owner of the club, especially down on Pine. Guys
Pine?
Yeah, I would throw shows down there, and it'd be like, this guy's got every gang in Long Beach in this club. But no, nobody was doing that. And you know what most of the damage was? The graffiti in the fucking bathroom. And it wasn't done by any of those guys. It was done by, you know, guys just like, these guys are old school writers. Let's tear this fucking, you know, the bathroom. And the bathroom would get tore up. And all the other guys they were worried about, they didn't have to worry about them because they were there to enjoy the hip hop, or they were there to perform. Like a lot of those guys rap too, you know? Yeah.
It was like a fucking safe haven for the night.
Yeah, for the night. It was kind of like, yeah, we could cool out, and then back to the hood. It might have been on. I don't know. Like I didn't.
The high school reunion level.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Exactly. That was for the. I mean that's just early days. So I mean I could go into. So from like 81 to 91, I was writing graffiti on the buses and the freeways. That was like what we did.
So was it like Sharpie? Like the birth of it all was writing with like the bus scene? Or was it like the
scribes? It was mainly scribes. Like a lot of people had their arrowheads or the OG scribes, you know. I just carried a rock. I was always just a rock. Rock was the easiest because it flowed, you know, and I'd like to do the big, across the windows, just huge. My name as big as you could get.
The windows were different though too, huh?
They were made of like plexiglass.
But like the sizes, they looked like
they were huge. They were huge.
Buses,
but you could get your name off. So the thing is like when you scribed your name on the window, like everybody had their little spots where they wanted to hit on the seat or, you know, on the rail, the window. I just did the windows, right? Across the windows. And at night when it's dark and the lights are on in the bus, all you saw was your name go by. And when you got a 2-3 foot name driving by on the bus and you're outside, everybody would be like, yo, we saw Index up. It would be like, there was like four guys that really got up, and it was like Index, a guy named Emerge, which is my boy Akil, Ender and Strick. Those guys were like to do the big stuff. Like everybody was just, you know.
How long could you do a bus in?
I was doing buses for, I don't know, 4 years, about 4 years straight.
But like, how quick could you fill a bus? Like, fill it with the scribe?
As quick as you could go like this, you know what I mean? Like and as fat as you wanted the letters, you know, however tall. If it was 2 windows, you were doing, you know, or you would do each letter in each window, you know. I spent about 4 years on the Long Beach Transit and a year on RTDs.
You did RTDs?
Yeah.
You never hit any of the trains that go through Long Beach?
So the trains at the time weren't really a big thing. Like it was just the Metro Rail hadn't been built yet. You know what I mean? So I was still doing buses, and then eventually the freeways. And the freeways were like my thing. Nobody was doing freeways at the time. Nobody was bombing in Long Beach. It was just me and my crew. And we were doing a lot of bubble. Like that was the thing. It was not, we don't tag. We're going to do letters. We wanted to keep it kind of like just
artsy.
Yeah, just I said East Coast driven, more big bubble letters or blockbusters and freeway signs. And at the time you could probably drive, you know, I mean to today you could drive the freeways in Long Beach and see all the barbed wire on them. That would tell you that it was a DE freeway sign.
That was a big spot.
And then I got arrested, and then that was 91. I got arrested, and from there we started a crew called KBH, which was more of the guys that didn't get rolled up. They went out and I had really not much to do with KBH other than rapping. I started rapping more. I started doing music, and then those guys like Dizzy from Ugly Duckling, Elemento, Masterful. There's just a bunch of us, Zaire Black. Everybody that was rapping would kind of shout it out in the name, you know, in their song here and there. But
what did you get arrested for tagging or?
Yeah, for graffiti.
And was that serious back then?
It was serious enough for them to do a sting. They did a whole sting.
Damn.
It was on the news for like a week. They gave me 2 felonies: felony for conspiracy to do organized crime and felony
tagging, bro, that's crazy,
felony
bro.
vandalism. It was the same time Chaka got arrested. He got arrested in LA for whatever reason. I remember, and then they didn't quite give him the felony charge yet until him and Sleaze were in the courthouse, and Sleaze wrote they were going to court for Chaka, I believe, and Sleaze had hit them both up, and so Chaka got there. It was like, oh, now you know. Then they gave him a felony. They had me in South Central trying to do community service, right? And I remember when I was out there, I was like, oh man, I can't be coming to South Central every fucking day for community service. And I was able to. So Homeland, the cultural center, was still a place, right? I get to Compton and I talk to the sheriffs. I'm like, can I change my shit to Long Beach? And like, if you can find a place that you could do your community service, sure. So I talked to a probation officer, and I think I told you about this. I go to her office and she had like a couple pieces. So she had graffiti already. So I was like, oh, you like graffiti? And she was like, you know what, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. And then I asked her about Homeland, and she was like, oh, I know Dixie Swift. And I'm like, yeah, that's my friend, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, it was like, boom, I'm at Homeland. So I'm at Homeland doing my community service. I was the first person to do community service there. This is 30 some odd years ago. She wiped 100 off right away, 100 hours gone. And then she was like, Ken, boom, spray paint. I had unlimited amount of spray paint. So we would sit on the wall at Homeland and paint all day. I'm drinking 40s. We're smoking weed. And Dixie would come out and be like, "Kid, what are you doing?" Like she was this hippie white lady from Malaysian Park, right? And just loved the Chicano culture. Like she hooked me up with dudes from the Brown Beret. Just I got a lot of knowledge in the culture. But she was a hippie chick, like this old, and she had to been at that time maybe 50 or 60 at the time, right? But she was just the coolest lady. But she would always be like, I could smell the weed all the way down the block. You know, because it was like where we would paint was like a block away from the culture center. It was in this alley. And, but she just would be like, oh, all right, whatever. And we would paint and smoke and drink 40s all day. And every once in a while I would go out. Every once in a blue moon I would go out and bomb the freeways. It was just, I was really touch and go. I wasn't like I used to be. But she would drive from Malaysian Park and be like, Ken, I could see your name all over the, you know, and I thought you stopped that. I'm like, hey, I'm just, you know, she was cool.
It's a tribute.
Bro, I mean, I feel like it's important to have someone like that really, like, she sounds like she actually gave, like, a community, bro.
She was a hero to a lot of us. Eventually, then it would kind of, I think it was like people kind of follow suit with community service through Dixie and Skez, which was Alex Finless. But you could go there and, you know, paint. They would get you other walls to paint, and it was crazy. Like at the end of the day, that was my 500 hours of community service was just painting, smoking weed, drinking. I mean, you know, and I was in the hood. People were coming, and then you just have random people showing up, hanging out. You didn't know. Yeah, this is cool. Smoking weed and then rolling up weed. And it would turn into like this party per se, right? With random people from the hood. It was Anaheim and Gaviota was where it was at, and eventually we got like the whole entire
baby.
No,
Anaheim Street.
Stephanie used to live near there. I know what you're talking about. Right there.
Yeah, yeah. You would watch drug deals go on. You would watch little kids bash out car windows. You name it, it was happening right in this alley, and we ended up getting the entire block. It was just a wall, like a liquor store wall. To now we got the entire block down this whole alley. And then
was it all KBH stuff or was it everybody?
It was everybody's. So at the time, I think I told you I'd met with NASA. So me and NASA were really like the guys, mainly Mike D, Whitey, but Whitey, Rich, and Just. I met Whitey. He used to work at Aaron Brothers. And I would rack at the Aaron Brothers, and he was working there. And so we kind of met up. And it was like him hitting me up. I'm NASA, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, I love NASA. They were just always one step ahead of everybody else when it came to bombing. Yeah. Like they were full colors, whatever it was, you know, what people were doing now, they were doing in the 80s and 90s. So I got to become really good friends with those dudes. And so they would paint there, and then they were bringing AWR. They brought Cause from DF, from New York. And then it turned into this place where a lot of big riders.
This was like pre-MSK, before MSK.
Yeah, they were still. I mean, yeah, it was mainly AW. At that time, AW was it was mainly Hike and Summit and a couple other guys, but it was a lot. It was putting Long Beach on the map, you know. And then eventually, some kids came. It was the first Bush. President Bush.
Oh, okay.
They were doing the anti-Bush stuff, and that's when the city was like, they put the
kibosh. Just like with YouTube and the political stuff, bro.
So yeah, they put a kibosh on that the whole alley, and luckily we had another alley a few blocks that was low, really low key, and we would bring those guys to paint over there. We would call that. It was basically Skez's alley, but it was a really like a tiny alley. It's the tiniest alley you can think
back
of.
Up
It's one of those though. If you drive down the alley, you got to back up.
Yeah.
And painted that for a while until they moved the Gaviota spot to MacArthur Park in Long Beach. So they moved it over there, and then I was off. I was off on doing the music and the clubs. I didn't go down there too often, but eventually Skez stopped doing Homeland, and Steam from UTI took over, and he ran that up until recently.
What, like COVID?
Right around COVID. They had changed it, but I think Dixie retired, and somebody else came in, and it's changed. Like it's still a cultural center, but I don't think it's called Homeland anymore.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're doing like drum circles and poetry readings.
Yeah. less street influence.
Yeah, more just like try to get you to some art schools.
Yeah.
Or some type of college stuff. So what's happened to a bunch of the people that you started writing with and that you grew
a
up
lot of
with?
guys, if they didn't pass away, they moved on to bigger and better things. my homies are either opening tattoo shops or designing for clothing lines or their own stuff.
There's that one fool that does a 3D art.
Yeah.
3D art.
Nino, he's doing, I mean, he's worked for, what is it, Tim Hansen, the Muppets guy. He's worked for a lot of big names.
Dude, he's got like there's this one of this. It looks like a Mars. That's a machine on Mars, and there's just like a KBH fucking tag on the thing. And I was like,
I think
is this thing in space?
This is, I mean, his art. This is his art, like behind the television. This red one, this thing up there. I mean, and that's just his paintings, but his digital 3D stuff.
It looks so real.
Man, it's yeah.
That already sounds interesting. 3D art, bro.
Yeah.
Future stuff. Yeah, the reason I asked is because I feel like usually like artists there's like a limited type of lanes they get into when it comes to careers. It's like tattooing or like designing stuff like clothes and stuff, you know?
Yeah, for the most part, most of the guys, I mean, like a Kill, he's designing for a lot of people. And then right now he's doing the Sawdust Festival. He's got his own little booth there. My buddy Rill's tattooing, and he's also, fine art masters. We got Nino. There's just a few of us, and then a couple of them have passed away. And then usually, if you don't continue doing the art, though, you grow out of it and you're working
a regular job.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like a lot of my friends that are into like graffiti or just street art like that, it's like they're in that phase now where it's like, do I get a regular job, and they still try to side hustle their dream,
Which isn't a bad thing, right? Like, and that's not a bad thing, because as long as you have one or two homies in your clique that's doing art, it's always those guys that are like, yo, I got this big space that I just, whatever, whether it's real estate, whether it's, I opened a new business and I want this huge warehouse painted. It's those guys in your crew. They're going to come to you first. You know what I mean? And I'm working a set for this movie or television show. You want to come over here and hit the back lot or whatever? So it's in the, and it's just stuff like that. And it's always guys in your crew or that were from your crew, because it still runs in them. You know what I mean? Like, they might not be out there doing graffiti, but they're like, well, I got a couple homies from the crew. Hey, I got this soccer field and it's got this huge wall you want to paint on. And that was one thing. We were painting this soccer field and the city came and was like, that you can't be painting on that. We're like, yeah, my homie owns this. And it was like, oh, well, that's pretty much the city's property. And it was like, well, he owns this field, and they didn't do anything. There's a couple of times there are things like that, like I said, that nature, where it's like just having somebody in the crew, whether it was doing stuff for MTV or the History Channel, it's all through that one dude in your crew that no longer does it, but he's not going to call the guy from somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Like, yo,
I got a guy.
Yeah, like, nah, hold up, I got a homie that does that, and and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Like you see the nepotism in certain crews where it's like, oh, that should have been a better artist. Just because it's your homie, you might want to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like it exists in like all walks of life, though.
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
Just be happy when it's you, and
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's cool though, dude. So what was I was about to ask the same question again, bro. So bad, bro. I had a long night, bro. I went to bed at like 4 a.m. and my brain's just pooped, dude. Bro, honestly too, dude, last week I was sick as bro. So I didn't talk to you.
What happened?
I don't know, bro, but I had a crazy fever, so I'm just getting back into things, dude. I was getting back into the gym. It's like hard when you like recover from being sick and you're just like, I was sleeping for like 4 days, dude. Anyway, sorry to sidetrack, dude. Yeah, dude. I'm interested in like I don't think you don't do any martial arts or anything, right?
No, I did when I was a kid. My dad was military dude, so he was always about busy.
Yeah.
It was like that. And in high school, I wrestled.
I just gotta ask, bro, because I mostly interview fighters, and I just was curious to know like what the fight scene was in like Long Beach.
The fight scene was on and popping. It was.
You got like little Thailand right there, bro.
Yeah,
I feel like there's gotta been some sick ass gyms.
In our crew, that was like our thing. Was we'd rather box with you than shoot you. Like many a times. Between Shad, between Real, Akil. We shoot the fair one before we were gonna think about hopping in a car and riding on you.
Some real man stuff right there, bro.
And the guys that we've ever boxed with, we're cool with now. It's just kind of like one of those things. Like, word. Now we can go have a fucking beer. You know?
I know there's like a couple crews that have just survived over all the years of tag banging. Just wild.
I mean, me and Real were in the crew. Yeah. It was KCC, NTS, and Long Beach was KOS, and KOS and KCC were just like, it was, bodies were dropping like it was ridiculous. That's all I can tell you. It was ridiculous. It got to the point, like I said, the legends, the higher ups were like, no more of that, because you guys are burning the block. And not just with graffiti, you're burning the block doing that, and it burns the street business.
Yeah,
you know?
you're bringing heat.
Yeah, and so all those homies were like, well, and they get into, you know, the whatever the local gang was, and they'd get into their
they just like beef.
Yeah.
People just like to squabble, bro.
That's what a lot of tag banging was.
Go join a real gang, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
All tag bangers had the fools that could piece and paint, and then you had the one fool that could barely do a block letter, but with fucking freaking.
They ride for you. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, he
shot caller, bro.
No, but you also gave that dude the easiest names. I mean, we had those guys.
Oh yeah,
and you give him,
fill that in for you.
You give him the basic 3-letter name with the easiest letters that connected, and now we're just, you're gonna do this throw up, and you're gonna stay doing this throw up. This is
bro.
This is the tag you're gonna do. But he was down, right? He was, and then once he got it, he was all doing his own thing. You're like, yeah, that's my man. And then, and if it came to beef, he was ready to rock.
At the drop of a hat.
It's like in hockey, bro. What was that documentary with that dude that would just get in fights with people?
About the brothers?
I don't know. It was on Netflix.
Just looking for it.
About
I think it was like the enforcers.
Yeah, the enforcers. Yeah. Hockey always has that guy that sucks at hitting the little puck, but he's always down to scrabble, bro.
That was Shad.
Oh yeah.
Like in our days, it was like, we had some heavy.
Shad, you're a toy. You just called it.
Nah, he was just down. He was down for the business. Like, we had the heavy hitters, but you just didn't want it,
Oh yeah.
And so the heavy hitters would be like, "Yo, you see that mosh pit right now? Shad, go in there and knock that dude out," and he would go do it.
Throw the sticker up too.
And then it was on, and it would be just all out war, fist fights, and whatever. But Shad was just down for it.
Yeah, I've seen Shad take down big boys.
Go knock that dude out.
And regardless, he's like short but stocky as hell,
but if he couldn't, he was still down to do it. Like, there was dudes that were 6'5" solid, and it would just be like, you just start it and we'll finish it. Like and it was, my homies were pulling out 4 or 5 long. It was like, wham, and you're like, oh man, and all you're seeing is, and they play around and rob you. They'd have you full, damn near like doing the full on like they're police officers and just taking all your shit.
Fucking hands behind your head, fucking Chris.
Give me your wallet, homie.
I mean, and then we were just, you think about it, like, this is the decade younger than my big homies. My big homies were even more ruthless. The Jokers and those dudes, they were on a whole nother level,
There's no questions.
Yeah, it was, and they were the big trouble small crowd,
I remember hearing one of the stories where it was just like 2 small cats cleared out a whole club.
Yeah, easy. And even the soft homies, like you have the really nice Samoan homies. You ever see them guys get mad? Then all of a sudden they're clearing out all types of, and they don't even want to fight. They just happen to be like throwing people all over the place. And then you got the ones that like to fight. Like, that's a whole nother ball game. Like, the ones that are just errors.
I saw it happen in high school. 2 Samoan guys.
Yeah, I don't fuck with Samoans,
remember Andrew? You remember Andrew?
No, Amperano was the white dude. Yeah, I don't know if I remember that Andrew, but I remember a lot of Samoans.
All right, he was the biggest one for a while. He was the big one.
The super nice dude?
Super nice.
Yeah,
I saw him squabble in the alley behind Western, and it sounded like Clash of the Titans going on.
Oh yeah, bro.
Like, whap, and the slaps, and we were just like, holy.
Yeah.
That fool was like 16, 240
yeah,
pounds already.
Exactly. They're just made of armor. I mean, their bones were dense, and then it was like the first time, like, I was into if I was boxing with you and I knocked you out, I'm cool.
I'm not finding a Samoan
But
like that,
the
bro.
Samoans that I was around, they knock you out and then they're stomping you out. I'm like, hey, he's done, bro. He's done. That dude's sleeping and you woke him up again.
He fucking forgot half his dictionary, but you woke him up again.
Yeah.
Bro, my homie Yadir, dude, that was just on the pod, the one that you missed recently. He was talking about how he got jumped by Samoans. He's like my size, bro. He was like, he took some kids from his church. He's like in the church, you know, so he took some kids to the park from his church, and then these Samoans just squabbled with him because they thought he was like gang affiliated or something.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, bro.
There can't
Not
be
in front of
any.
the kids, bro.
There's nothing scarier sounding to me than getting jumped by Samoans.
No.
That sounds terrifying.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, I'm not gonna come out the same.
Bro, you're like 140 pounds, dude.
No,
It got to where
I've heard of stories of them picking people up like baseball bats and swinging them.
Oh yeah, bro.
just
You're literally like 100
throwing.
pounds less than them, bro. Like it's no problem, dude.
my buddy JFX he was DJing at a show, Sky Sushi on Sunset, and it was all Asians, and there was a couple Samoans, and the fight broke out. And it was like, and he's hiding behind the DJ booth, filming everything, and you just see these people flying, and they're just chucking them.
Yeah.
And they're chucking tables and chairs, and it was wild. I was like, it looked like Godzilla and King Kong had just gone through and just started fucking everything up.
Yeah, nah, dude. If you don't got like a weapon against a situation like that, you better run, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not playing with my life.
You heard those stories, like the conspiracy theory
About Samoans?
about just like a lot of Polynesians in general?
I don't
There was
know.
like the Mahatuni or something. I think I brought it up to you.
I think you brought it
to
up.
you before.
You brought up in the pod before too.
Yeah.
With the magic or something.
They were like, yeah, these super small race of people. They were like tiny, I guess like 2 feet high or something like that.
Oh, the Menahuni?
Metahuni, yeah, that's ones.
Yeah, that's the spirit. But yeah, I mean, and that particular, so I don't know the entire story, but there's a cliff. I think it's, I don't want to, but there was a cliff where I want to say King Khmer had run, I think there were Samoans, run them off the cliff. And so they landed in this valley. They all died. And it's that those spirits, because they say that there was this thousands of them run off this cliff, right? And it's a high cliff. It's my buddy took me to this cliff, and you could like, if you have like a big sheet, you can like jump in the air, and the wind that comes up will lift you up.
I'm good.
And,
That sounds
hell
scary
no.
as fuck.
They ran him off this cliff, and those spirits are supposed to be
They're
down
on
that
a
valley.
census. The original Hawaiian census has a population of Metahuni.
But they're
So
supposed
they're
to be
real.
Yeah.
It's technically real. It's a census.
Yeah. Well, he did say it was the real people. He said it's just from back. They died and their spirit became Samoans, right? So
Yeah, but they're regular sized people. These things are like 2 feet high.
yeah.
And they just
Everyone used to be smaller back then, though.
No, I don't know. I would say they were bigger. Everybody was bigger back then. I would say even.
Well, because I know like the average height for like the people that started America, they're like 5'5" or something.
yeah, if you look like a suit of armor
Yeah.
from back in the day, it's tiny.
The humans been getting bigger. Samoan thing, I don't know, dude. I mean, I don't know what happened there because they got pretty
Samoans will
big,
just
bro.
Samoans will grow till who knows.
Yeah, who knows?
They
Dude.
got good oxygen.
Some in the food out there, bro. You know.
It's the good oxygen. It's the taro. Yeah, I mean, and all the food that they eat probably.
Yeah. Don't mess with Samoa.
But
man.
all the Polynesians, though, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You know what trips me out is Samoa is part of like it's not part of the United States, but it's like you don't need a passport to go there.
Right. It's because
They're like
the Christians went and tried to colonize, or like Big Yo says, they tried to colonize us.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people allowed it when they had their own thing. They had a good thing. A lot of those islands there, and those islands were the gatekeepers to the Pacific. The Pacific Ocean is bigger than any landmass, all of the landmass put together, if you put them all together. And it was the Polynesian people that they were the gatekeepers of the ocean. You know what I mean? All
bodyguards,
of them.
bro.
The Tahitians,
That's why they're big.
you know, the Maoris, all of them. And they were also the ones that taught everybody how to row. And people weren't rowing and even those Scandinavian places, they learned to row through the Polynesians.
That's interesting, dude.
Well, they just relied on wind before that, and that was it.
Well, maybe, but these guys were doing it. You're talking before Christ, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been around, and that's the thing is they're not like they're new. You know what I'm saying? Like they've been doing exactly what they're watermen. It's waterman culture. You know what I'm saying? That's how they travel.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner, Waterworld, they're him.
More or less, yeah.
him.
I mean, just transfer that over to a Polynesian person instead of a white guy, the Caucasian dude.
For a white person to understand what he's trying to say right now.
I mean,
as a people, they're Kevin Costner and Waterworld.
just like surfing. You know, surfing's the same. It's a Polynesian culture. It's not a white culture. Like everybody's like, yeah, dude. It's like, nah. This is it's a very soulful culture.
We just capitalize on it.
Yeah, they just put it on TV.
They capitalize on everything, whether it was hip hop, rap, graffiti, you know, jazz.
Jazz.
A lot of them, they capitalize on it, right?
Yeah, man,
white people.
History is not always written by the ones who won, bro. It's written by the ones who survived.
Yeah, that's a good saying too. That whole who survived. You ever trip out on this? Like whenever somebody's older than you, and I was just talking to Shad about a guy that people call an OG. Like, yeah, that's the OG. And it's like, nah, that's a sucker. He was a sucker back in the day that survived. And that's the problem with everybody calling somebody an OG. Just because you're older doesn't make you an OG. You were just a sucker that survived. You maneuvered. You maneuvered correctly. And now you tell stories of the old days or, you know, like, come on, man. There's a lot of people like that where they get that label that they get to be called OG. And it's like,
you weren't doing nothing.
No, you weren't even doing that back in those days.
In jail or dead.
Yeah. You know, or you know when you talk to one, you can tell right out of the gate, like, oh yeah, he lived it. He's been there. He's done that. You know.
I just think it's because whenever you're younger and you're speaking to someone that's older, they just seem like they have so much more wisdom. You know.
They should.
You know?
Well, they should. But that's an elder, right? You don't necessarily get that label of being an OG.
Yeah, people just like embellish.
I mean, we
lots
all
of embellishment.
respect your elders. You know, I was brought up that way too. When grown folk are talking, you shut up. You know, and that's how my dad raised me. It was like, yo, when grown folks speak, you just listen. There's a reason why you got 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely something that's this new generation's lacking, bro.
Nah, you got kids that are 20 years old giving you health tips and fitness tips. It's like, when you become my age and you look halfway decent, then you can give me some fitness and health tips.
But the thick influence, I don't want to say the F word because they're going to get weird, but the thick influencers, the thick health influencers, I don't understand how you're like 200 plus pounds giving health advice. This just doesn't make sense.
Or money advice, like business advice. It's like you're going to have to make it, lose it, make it, and then keep it. Like that, you're going to lose some bread. Like that's part of the game.
I can't take money advice from someone that's half my age, bro.
Exactly.
That's crazy, bro.
Well, yeah, like when the GameStop stuff was happening.
Yeah.
Way back, I was just like, I'm not listening to anybody. They're like, put money in this and that. And I'm like, no.
Well, I wish I listened to the GameStop thing, but I'm just saying those influencers, just any influencer, if you have an influencer in what they call you, just don't listen to them. You are not
exactly. It's like,
what does that mean?
I mean,
if
I'm going to take gym advice from somebody, I want them to be at least as older than me. Yeah, but you know you know, like they get on this certain diet. It's like, well, how long did you do that diet?
I did it. Blah, blah, blah.
Right, and if it's somebody that's doing it because it's the trend, it's like, well, then don't talk to me until you went through some stuff and had a stomach issue that this diet caused, or whatever, or that it didn't. Then you can give that advice. But there's so many people that, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. How long you been doing it? 6 months. You're doing it because that's what's paying the bills, right? You know, when you wake up in the morning and you do a certain thing for the love of it, it's different. Like speaking like of art, let's say art, right? Like I'm excited to come and paint regardless if I have a client that's paying me, because I'm going to do it regardless. You know what I mean? Because that's the love that I have for it, right?
No, I agree. If you weren't willing to do it for free because you loved it, I don't need to hear your advice for it more.
People will tell you how not lazy they are because they went to work. It's like, you got paid to go to work. Now, what are you doing when you get off work? Oh, you hit the bar. Then you went home at 8 and you passed out. Did you go to the gym? You know, like that's the first thing I want to know. It's like, I'm up at 4 at the gym, you know, before I start my day.
Damn, you're one of those guys.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I am one of those guys.
Or in the morning type.
But, you know, you motivate to but there's guys that work a 9 to 5. I get it, but don't go home and relax if you're trying to get to the gym, right? Like, if
do your shit, bro.
Get it done.
Take care of your shit, whatever it is.
All that stuff, though. Any of it, if you're talking about you're not lazy because you did a 10-hour shift, you got paid, right? You're getting paid. That has nothing to do. Let's take the lazy out. What you got 14 more hours in the day. What are you going to do with those 14? Well, you're probably going to sleep about 8 of them. So now we're down to a few more hours.
4 or 5.
You know?
That's eating.
to get something done, whether it's write a book or write some poetry or
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, take care of your kids, take them to the park, whatever it is. There's because you can sit around for 2 hours and think about doing all that. And then when now you're down to a couple more hours, and you ain't gonna get
enough time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what people do. I wasn't feeling it. Yeah, because you sat around and thought about it. Think about doing something is a lot of work.
Less thinking, more doing. So you were talking about earlier how you remember growing up and how like Southeast Asians came because the Vietnam War and the war in Cambodia. How did that influence like the street art in Long Beach?
Well, like I was telling you, just a lot of Asian kids. I don't know what it is about. Asians. I guess they're more of, like when it comes to thinking and deciphering. Right. So I just remember, whether it was second or third grade, I'm drawing, and there was like one or two other guys that were good, and then the Southeast Asian kids came in, and you'd have one or two of them drawing. You're like, man, this dude's drawing a whole robot. Like it was like a whole, here I am, I'm drawing whatever, a b-boy character, one of these little characters that are cartoon characters.
They're doing like cubed out designs.
Right, and just full 3D, I'm doing a 2D design with maybe shading. My dad would always say, you shading it to death. Like, at the time I was young, but you don't understand light and dark. These kids are coming and they're just a whole nother level. It was, as far as art goes, I couldn't, there wasn't very many Asian or, I can't remember too many Vietnamese or Cambodian graph artists. There was a couple, but as far as art in class, there was some really good artists.
I wonder why that is though. You think just because in school they were teaching that, or?
Maybe. I just think whatever they put their mind to, they get busy with it. Those little, because when it came to like being gangsters, they were terrors in Long Beach. Like they were going heads up with the Southsiders here, and the Southsiders, you're talking thousands. And these dudes were here in the hundreds, and that doesn't mean all hundreds of those dudes were gangbangers. So it was a small group of Asians that were. And me and my friends always were like, those dudes don't have any value for life because they were just. Shooting everything. Half of Anaheim streets on fire because they were like burning down shops, and it was wild. With those Asians were, and now they're all over up north or whatever. You hear about them, but dudes was wild. And then they had clicked up with the Samoans, so it was like these Asians and Samoans. They're just bad news.
All right, dude. Here's a philosophical question, bro. Are Samoans Asian or Islanders?
Oh, they're Islanders. Yeah.
I feel like they can be both.
They can be both.
Why can't they be both?
They're all, but I like to think that in the Pacific Ocean, if you think about it, right? It's those tiny islands produced those types of big, and I don't know if it's the minerals or what's in the food.
It's a Manahootie, dog. I'm telling you, they changed.
And then the outer parts of the Pacific are more of the Asians, the Southeast Asians, right? They're a little smaller.
I just feel like if you take a Samoan dude or a Polynesian and he drops to like 140, 130, he's gonna look pretty similar to Vietnamese cat or
that's true. Even if you get a big Filipino or Vietnamese or Guamanian,
bro.
Yeah,
they kind of look like
Hawaiian dude would look Mexican if he just he became light skinned. You think he might be northerner? Because he have the wavy hair.
But a lot of those dudes came down to South America too. A lot of Polynesians, right? Like they were driven by Christianity. They were on the slave ship, and they brought them to Peru and.
That's why you get that influence.
Well, that's why I think you get the.
How do you know so much about Samoans, bro? You just hang out with a lot of Samoans.
Yeah,
tell me some.
But surf culture. Surf culture is big. That's something my entire life I've surfed. I did a podcast in New York in Queens with my boy BL, and they were tripping because they're like, "What's the surf and the graffiti?" It goes hand in hand. We're on the ocean, so it's just like you can have hip hoppers in the middle of the ocean, right? They don't have to dress hip hop to be hip hop, right? You can be in some sandals and some trunks, and love hip hop. You know, I have homies that's exactly how they roll, but they love Talib and Mos Def and DMX or whatever. I mean, they every time those guys went to the island, they were there. They were at every show. You know, sick. They love it, and it's the same thing when it was graffiti. You could be, if I lived in the inner city of LA or something, maybe I'd be in the skateboarding more. You know, but I lived on the coast.
Just a beach graffiti artist, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I got away with so much being who I was. Like me and my homies, we got away with a lot because you would get on the bus with your surfboard or bodyboard, your surf stuff, and the bus driver would never look at you. And by the time you got off the bus was demolished, or he would lay over. He wanted to have breakfast or lunch, and he'd lay over for 15 minutes and be like, yo, I'm going to get off and go get lunch or breakfast, and he would leave us on the bus. If we looked like the normal cliche graffiti writer at the time in some Dickies and some LA gears and a white t-shirt, some Raiders or Kings, everybody was in Raiders and Kings back then, especially Kings. All the graffiti. Yeah, graffiti writers. Dickies, LA gear, the black LA gear boots, and Kings jackets, right? If I looked like that, they wouldn't leave me on the bus. Yeah. You know, so me and Akil, we would just destroy the bus. All the buses, we'd get layovers all the time. I think I told you, eventually it got to where the bus drivers knew, like, oh, those fucking kids right there, and they would drive right by, and whoever was there, if there was an old lady on the bus stop with us, she was missing the bus with
us. You catch and see war, man. I'm sorry about that.
Damn, bro.
And then you didn't see him like, why didn't he? You're like, yep. You'd have to wait for the bus driver that didn't know you, you know?
Just come out to disguise every day, get a different beard or something.
Just dress like old lady. No, homie. Have you ever like traveled to go do art, like on hit up walls or go to the East Coast to hit up the subways?
I had New York. I've been to New York a lot, and so there was a time where right around the time I had got arrested in the early '90s, me and my boys went out there. We around, but my buddy Paulie Nugent from Lords of Brooklyn, he was like, "Yo, you can't be doing it," because we didn't know. We're just because it's New York. You're thinking, and it's different now. But at the time, we were just writing on everything: cop cars, down in the subway. We're just, and he was like, "Yo, and he would tell us like there's ghost cars or whatever.
What are ghost cars?
Just regular old, I guess, cop cars that are driving like your car.
Oh,
you
know what I mean?
Like just regular, but just not so undercoverish, right? Like the Crown Vic.
Yeah,
it would be a different, like a Trans Am or whatever.
No shot.
And we didn't know at the time, but I think that was like late '90s. But that was about the only time I didn't do any traveling. Even when I'd go to Japan, my distributor would be like, "Ken-san, I'll pay your if you need, you know, if you get arrested." Like, I ain't writing on.
What, he wanted you like pieces building?
Just wanted me to get up. He wanted me to get up. You know what I mean? Like I'd catch little landmarks here and there, but he was like, at the time, and this was early 2000s, 2000, you would see like Neckface, Twist, all those guys were, because the trade shows were popping for a lot of skate and shit.
Okay.
And those guys were doing art. You had all the San Francisco guys, and then Neckface. I don't know why he was out there, but he's
He's
up
LA,
with it.
right?
No, he's from New York.
He's from New York?
And then Big Five. I did an art show with Big Five out there. Not Big Five, Bigfoot. Big Five CBS, but Bigfoot. He was hot. He was doing a lot of like Think and I think FTC.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because I have some homies that are like my age and they still write. And he's telling me how he likes to go out to like other cities and stuff, like other states. It's like so. It's mellow. So different. Like
so it would be like racking. Like when I first started racking, we knew Long Beach was burnt because everybody was racking. Yeah. So you would want to go to the art stores, and now all the art stores, everything was behind. So you would go to Riverside, Laguna.
Of course, you're gonna paint.
And the paint was all in the front of the store, while the register would be in the back. You know, we were like, holy. And so we would spend days just driving all over Orange County in the early 90s, late 80s. That's why we were going to Cerritos. At the time, you know, Long Beach to Cerritos was far if you were a kid because you had to take the bus. So we would rack everything like...
On the while taking the bus?
Yeah. I mean, just rack. There was one time like Fez. You know Fez? Fazak from Humab, IC. Me, him, and 2 other guys, a friend of ours had a Capri, and we just drove like all in the valley. Everywhere we went was like taking airbrushes, like stuff that I would normally not come up on out here. You were coming up on those because they just didn't have a clue. They didn't have a fucking clue, you know? And then being, again, in the surf business, you wanted to take photos. So we would take all the fucking throwaway cameras, the water cameras, man, and we would be out there, and then you'd fucking get them developed, and then you'd rack them off of the fucking, you know, the envelopes.
Because they just left them out there. That was before
even graph, like if you were painting and you wanted to paint, you take photos that you did at Homeland. You take all your photos and you get them developed, and then you just steal the developed photos.
Those were the days before everything was behind stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even when people were putting stuff on the racks, so you would try to have competitions with your boys, like see if you could
grab your
in front of the girl that was, you know, putting stock in the shelves. It was just all fun and games. We never got busted, never. Not even. It wasn't until like one time we were trying to steal like Nintendo 6. I don't know what. I was never into video games, but my buddy wanted to get a Nintendo, and at the time they were out. Like you can get them, right? They weren't in, and we put them in the shorts, and you would walk out like you were wiping. You know, you'd cut the little silver thing out of the motherfucker, the little chip. Yeah. And the box at the time, I don't know, it wasn't very big. It was, I don't even know about video games, but he was taking the Nintendo. We were taking like clothes, and this is at Target, and we would just go in and out, doing the same stupid ass shit, like we had dirt on our shirt, you know.
Every time you walked out,
and it was like you would just stuff the fuck out of it, yeah. And then eventually we get rolled up, and I told the dude told me that he was like, "You're not going anywhere. Don't think about running." I just remember telling my homie, "I'm out of here, bro." And the big white dude had us both by our arms, and the black dude was behind him. He was like you could tell he was the fit dude, but I spent my whole life running, so. And I had Birkenstocks on. Them Birkenstocks came off at the front of Target, and I was gone. He was barefoot. He wasn't catching me. I just remember running my ass. That was lunchtime. That was lunchtime at Milliken, and I remember showing up in the parking lot, and one of my homies was like, happened to be in the car. I was like, "Can you take me home?" Take me home.
What happened to your homie?
He got rolled. Yeah. He ended up getting rolled a couple times for graph and everything, and then when we and him got rolled up together, he got the same. You know, we both got 2 felonies, and to me, I was like, "This is my first offense ever getting arrested." I'm getting
not today.
That's crazy. So you got 2 felonies for writing.
Yeah, and my homie who had gotten arrested with me was arrested a couple times already. You know what I mean? So to me, it was. But you know, it's just one of those things you bite the bullet. Like oh wow, I thought I
lost.
Yeah.
There's drug dealers that get like 1 felony.
Yeah.
They're like,
oh no. So when I was going to court, it was during the riots, right? And 1 whole year of preliminaries every month, and you'd be sitting there like the guys before you. I mean, they would gun cases, drug cases, and it was.
This is the Rodney King riots.
Yeah.
They're going hard with.
I was in South Central, man. Middle of South Central, going to court down there. It was on fire. Everything was on fire. I was like, man, aren't they gonna like pause it? Like, nah, they don't pause court. You're going to court. Like, damn it.
They're just like, you're half what? Japanese?
Yeah.
Maximum sense, dude.
Yeah. No, they wanted to. Yeah, they tried to. So more or less, you just had to plea out. So it was like, if I fought it, which I wanted to fight it, it was all about like, yeah, we're gonna fight it. Me and my boy were like, you know, they got nothing on us. It was all word of mouth, and then they had basically what had happened was they did the sting. I said we were going to destroy the freeway. A couple months later, we destroyed the freeway. So then they just 20 some odd cops kicked the door down.
Damn, like this dude's
ransacked the house,
yeah, bro.
You know, and
clapped him around.
Yeah.
Your parents' house?
Yeah.
Where's the paint?
I just turned 18, so you know, and I was a little 18, you know, Asian kid. And I'm still, I was like 70 pounds, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, and all I remember is I go to they took me to like the Carson holding tank, right? And there was like dudes from Florencia, and there are 2 dudes from Florencia. And we just immediately hit it off. Yeah. And they're like, whatever you do, don't try to like go to county or wayside. They're like, they just looking out for me. little,
you need to start.
Like, yeah, you don't want to go there.
You need to start eating more before you go to gladiator school.
Yeah. Did you run with the whites or the Asians?
No, that was it. I never had to go to the pen or
cool.
or county or
That
anything.
wasn't too bad then, yeah.
So I just did a couple days there and.
But 2 felonies? What?
Yeah.
It's like, we'll throw you a bone. We're going to fuck the rest of your life.
They wanted to give us 3 years.
Oh my God, bro. That's crazy.
I just basically
paid out.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I did it. All right. And
it's like a waste of tax money, dude.
And that was my lawyer. He was supposed to do all of this baloney. He ended up being some fucking crooked ass Superior Court judge, lawyer. Worked for
the DA.
He worked for a lot of legends too. Like he was on the cut. And
he'd get you the best deal possible.
He ended up blowing his head off. Ended up blowing his head off because of he was doing a lot of dirt, but he didn't give a fuck about us. He was like, oh, we're going to do this for you and that for you. We're going to all this tax money that they're spending. He didn't do anything. That's what I'm saying. Like, it got to where even me and my man was like, man, we should have just went up there and talked ourselves because he didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? And so.
Wait, he blew his head off or he blew his head off?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was like.
He blew his head off. He had an office right next to the Lakewood Sheriff Station. Right next to it. Art Close. That was his name. Arthur Close.
Arthur Close. We gotta look this dude's story up now somewhere.
Yeah, he was doing some probably shouldn't have been doing, and some I could tell you off the camera, but
off the record.
Yeah,
we're like reporters, dude. Off the record or off.
Yeah,
we'll uncover the truth.
No, but that was 91, and so for a good 3 years, I was just pretty much doing Homeland for 3 years.
When you start getting into like making the clothes, like making
91.
91.
Oh, during Homeland. Did you even know about Homeland before that?
Yeah, I was since 10th grade.
Okay,
yeah, it had been around. It might have been around a little longer. So Alex, the guy did, like I said, the artwork, Skez, I think he's 6 or 7 years older than me. So, you know, in high school, he had been at least 20, 21. You know, he was from the East Side, but he was just an amazing artist. He's always been an amazing artist. Yeah. So it was always like, I always did like abstract, kind of weird, you know, and I was more of a bomber. He was always beast and doing like just really
fine
dope,
art,
yeah,
like real art and stuff. Dude, I've been noticing like some artists that like you could tell like who does like the ones that actually like took art class or something.
Yeah, well, he would fall into that. He just did some stuff for like Lowrider or Thump Records or something, and it's like up there with like Abel.
The ultra realism.
Yeah.
Grayscale.
Yeah.
So amazing. Confusing.
I think AUB was the dude's crew. Interview.
Oh, AUB?
Yeah. That one was like a real artist, bro. This stuff's crazy. That just came to me random. Sorry, I had shot it.
I remember some of those dudes. I used to partied a couple times with drugs before he passed away.
There's like they were saying in this one interview that I think I was talking to you about it, how he started helped start the train scene in Orange County.
Maybe in Orange County. I mean, I just think the train scene was already, like I said,
running. That was like
right around the time I got arrested was around the time Skate got hit by the train.
Okay.
I mean, I think they were obviously already bombing the train, so.
You got hit by a train?
I already like stepped back to take a photo and like a
Escape from CBS.
What is it? The Metrolink, the big train. They're really quiet too.
He lived or
no.
Instantly.
That was it.
That's crazy, dude.
He was like a legend for LA, Los Angeles graffiti.
Oh, CBS.
Oh,
they're all good dudes.
Yeah, trains scare me anyways, bro. You gotta stay away from those tracks,
they're
dude.
wild. I'm on a train yard. Like, I'm always looking for like where the active tracks are.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't figured out most of the spots now at this point, but like the metros are they don't make a noise unless you're by like an opening to the tracks. Like, you don't have to cut in through a fence somewhere. Like, it's just silent, and you're just like, what the fuck? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even wear headphones, and like I'll still get like I'm like doing like a color fade or something, and I get lost in it, and you just feel the wind, and you're just like, oh, that's the train.
Train,
you just
baby.
like check to where you're at.
That's how the bullet trains go. Like, sometimes they don't stop at the stop you're at, right? Because they don't stop very often, right?
In Japan?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Fly by. They're not nowhere near the platform. They're like 3-4 tracks, but yeah, they'll go. They slow down probably a little bit. You know,
they're still going like 178 miles an hour or something, right?
That's
I don't know if they're going that fast.
That's pretty fast.
They do go that fast.
Yeah.
Like when you're going over when sometimes they're going along the freeway, they make those cars look like they're at a straight standstill.
It's not a lot of time to react.
But so suicide is huge in Japan.
That's how they do it.
That was one of the things is they would jump in front of the train tracks, and eventually, the government in Japan was they were like, "Yo, family members jump in front of the train, you guys got to pay for it because it stops everything." You know, Japan's like New York when it comes to the train. Everybody's taking a train. Yeah. My aunt, she's seen somebody jump in front of the train, and you know, you're talking about like body parts everywhere. It's
you disintegrate,
and it just causes. I mean, it's so like you'd be in a train and it would come to a stop, and that would be the first thing one of my nieces or cousins or somebody would say is like, "Oh, probably somebody jumped in front of the train." Like that's how serious. So it got so serious that they were like, "We're going to start making your family members pay for that shit." So then they got into the gas hibachi thing, right? Like the little hibachi thing, it's made of gas, and they were doing like party suicides, like where we would get online and talk about, I want to die, you want to die, oh, we'll just, and they that's the thing they do now is where they
shadow ban. Nah, that's cool. Dude, let her run, bro. I don't care, bro.
Yo.
That's crazy, those suicide parties.
And they'll like light them off and blow up, or?
No, you breathe it in the gas. You bring it
that way.
That way. Come on, we're not, bro, we're just trying to kill ourselves, bro. Come on.
I mean, there's another way it'd be pretty cool if everybody gasses up.
Then you have the forest too.
The forest.
You know about the forest?
Yes, I know.
So my aunt lived at the bottom of Mount Fuji, right there at Jukai. Me, I think JFX and my homie Bomb, like we'd go to Fuji all the time. And one time we're driving, and my cousin, she went to Wilson here, but she lived out in Fuji. And we're driving, and she's like, "Ken, you notice all the nice cars on the side of the road?" I was like, "Yeah, that's fucking crazy." She's all, "They'll sit there for at least a year." I was like, "What do you mean?" Well, this is where they go to kill themselves. So basically, they don't clean the forest out until a year. And what they do is they bring in long rope, because your compasses don't work inside there because of the volcanic activity. Or the volcanic rock, I guess it messes with the compasses.
Yeah.
So when the police and all them people come to, they I don't know how many thousands of feet of rope, so they don't get lost in that forest.
So they have a way out.
Yeah, because the compass don't work.
So it's like the magnetic stuff.
How do they get the cars out? They just leave the key.
So it's kind of like if you're driving through Big Bear and you just see a car there, right? Yeah. That car is going to basically stay there for the rest of the year. They don't clean it. They do it once a year.
Drove the cars in, so you got to get in there, get the car out, and navigate them. But you know, Japanese people are nice, bro. So I was like, I wonder if they just leave the keys in there.
You never know. You never know.
I mean, maybe.
But it's always for like the smallest reasons. You're like, you know, I didn't make it into a college that my parents wanted. You know, I didn't get the job, or
it's that warrior mentality, bro. That samurai culture that just evolved into civil life. You know. Yeah. It's like we're back in the day, the wrong word is death, dude. Any type of dishonor on your clan is death. You take that into like, oh, I dishonored my family by not getting the right job or not getting married. You know?
There was did you hear? It was a political party that a businessman had started in, I think it was in the 70s. And he wanted to basically stop Japan from going so Western. Like Japan's going totally Western. He had gotten one of the
shogunate.
That's basically what he did. So this is in the 70s, and he was talking to everybody at the square or wherever, some community center or something, to tell everybody, and everybody was like, "Man, get out of here. We're trying, this is what we want." And there was like 12 of them, 12 dudes, and they all committed seppuku right there.
Damn. And they're a political party?
Yeah, they were a political party. And they did the whole thing where they hit him with the stomach, he falls, chop the head, the next dude, the next dude, the next dude. Yeah.
No, so
Town Square.
That party's done then.
That was it. Yeah.
No surviving.
No faith in the world.
They didn't want to hear his like, "Man, get out of here." It was kind of like the same thing with the 47 Ronin.
Yeah.
The same get down.
That's wild. What do you do with the body after that? Do they get buried, or?
You gotta skin it, bro. They want to keep it traditional. Nah, but that's just, they gotta keep the tradition alive, bro. They just skin it, and then I don't know what they do with the rest, bro.
Why would they skin it?
I don't know. That's what they do, though.
How do you know?
That's why you ever seen the slit when people get tattoos, like real Japanese tattoo art. They have that skin.
Well, that's for tattoo art though. I wouldn't say like normal business people. Like he was just a dude probably trying to change the way trying to slow down.
He was like the Donald Trump of their time, bro.
More or less, yeah.
Well, it's like it's like the dudes that are like the monk in Vietnam that lit himself on fire. It's just like this is just what it's gonna be.
It's a little different though because he lit himself on fire to bring awareness to like the nation being colonized. They were kind of committed suicide to basically be like, I'm not gonna.
In their mind, they're thinking they're like that though.
Yeah. Ugh.
That's how they think they
Politics is rough in Japan, bro. Don't get into that, bro. Yeah, bro. I've been recently like reading up on what's that fool's name, Musashi or whatever, that samurai that never lost the battle. That fool's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I think he killed his first, I don't know, samurai when he was 13.
He's like Zoro.
Yeah, like he was going.
Then he went on to like 28 sword fights or something and never lost. And then eventually he
became a writer, dude.
He started just using the stick. He was the one that did remember when Bruce Lee did the art of fighting without fighting?
Yeah.
And that when he tells the dude, I'll meet you on that island over there.
Yeah.
That story is from Musashi. Yeah. Musashi got the guy. The guy was like, I'm going to beat you. Da, 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 da. And he's like, all right, well, let's go paddle over to this island over there. And the dude jumped in.
Made him wait.
Kicked him off and was like, all right. And they just went off.
Yeah, like this dude has, I think one of his famous books is called like the 13 Tenfolds of Life or something. And he just gives kind of life advice. And one of the things he writes about, a lot of it is just about how to win battles and stuff, you know. Well, one of the things he wrote about is like always making the person you're going to fight wait, you know. And he's like, because when you're fighting to the death, you're already on the edge. So he'll tell people like, meet me over here, and he'll show up like a day later. And just make this whole camp out there. It's just, he's an interesting.
5 rings too.
Yeah, is that the
5 rings?
I
have it over there.
Yeah, but it's just interesting.
Rings.
Once he got older, he kind of gave up the sword and he started like a university. It was like one of the first like schools in Japan, like actual like schools in Japan, you know.
Like a sword fighting or just a school?
No, like just actual like education, like calligraphy and stuff. He's super into that stuff.
Yeah,
that's pretty tight.
Smart guy.
Calligraphy is the way of the sword.
Yeah, I hear a lot. The reason I kind of like got into him was because you hear a lot of fighters, like professional fighters, talk about how they read his books. You know, it totally makes sense because.
Yeah, his philosophy is a lot like the art of war.
Definitely. Yeah.
Sun Tzu.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. I don't know what else we got.
What time are we at?
12:43.
I still gotta go get a tire.
Do you know where your spot's at?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's, any last, what can you tell the youth, bro? I mean, I feel like you got a lot of knowledge on just, you know, what Long Beach was like and what street art was like, you know?
The youth? I mean, at the end of the day, do what makes you happy, but be respectful to the people around you. That's it. Simple.
What keeps you going, bro?
Exactly that. I just do what I love. This is what I love, right? So, I mean.
Living the dream.
That's it. I mean, you got to there's a lot of sacrifices in doing what you love. You know what I'm saying? Because you can, relationships per se, right? Like, the girls will always love what it is you do, but eventually they're like,
tired of it.
Are you going to change? You're just going to continue doing this?
Are you married?
Nah.
Kids?
Nah.
Damn, living the life, bro.
Living the good life, dude.
Yeah, no wonder you can do all this cool shit, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things. Since I was a youngster, it's always been like you'll meet the chicks and this and that, and they'll love everything about you, the idea of it. And then eventually it's like, you know, you're in a relationship for 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and they're like, yeah.
When's this going to stop?
You thinking about, like, nah, I'm still happy about waking up and going and doing this art, you know?
Yeah, she's like, I want a baby and shit. You need a real job,
bro. Hold up.
Whoa.
Yeah, go do that. You gotta do that. What's that Japanese thing? Seppuku, bro. Or go get a real job. Yeah. All right, well, Swiss, it was nice meeting you, bro.
Yeah,
Check this guy's art out. What's the website? KBH.com or what?
KBH, the KBH. THE.
We'll put a link here. Check it out.
.com, and then, you know, the Instagrams, all that shit.
Yeah, we'll add all the links. Check him out. Check his art, bro. Support your artist, dude. Keep the dream alive.
Yeah.
Don't become a slave to a regular life, man.
Crush government property.
Crush government property, but leave private property alone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a, you know, it depends on your idea, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you know, it's on a normal street, and it's also a boxcar that's not parked in a driveway.
Well, that's what got me in trouble when they interviewed me.
The boxcar?
No, what you just said. Like that's what I told them. I was like, I just destroy everything that's owned by the government.
And they're like, that's.
And I was like, I don't hit homes. I don't hit trees. I don't hit hospitals. Like, man, I was like anything. And so it was like, man, they're probably like, this guy's he's gonna be a problem when he gets older.
They're racking it up.
You know what I mean? Like here I am at 18 years old talking that anti-government stuff. So
yeah,
that's why it's like, it just depends, you know? Because most people who do graffiti, it's for fame. It wasn't my ideology like I was. Back then, I was like Mr. Crush in Babylon. Yeah. You know, I was like, chant down Babylon. You know, I was little Rasta. Most of my homies in Long Beach, we were all like big Rastafarian influence. So we weren't really about like, yo, we're just trying to get our name up. And they're used to that. You got to remember, police officers are used to those. Here's this dumbass kid talking about fame. He's just talking about, and then they get a couple of us where we're like, we're trying to take the government down, man. We're trying to take the gray walls. Everything is gray. We were like that.
They do not like the government talk. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Swiss, it was nice meeting you, dude.
No doubt.
Everyone at home, goodbye.
All right. Peace.